Have you ever had the experience of coming into yourself, into presence, or into your body, and then your pet walks right up to you like they sensed you're really there now? Or have you been in contemplation and presence on a walk and had a special animal encounter? Today on Deep Calling Deep, we'll explore connection with non human creatures. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Holiness Connection. So, this series, Deep Calling Deep, explores how to be with others, how to foster, experience, and practice deep connection. But what if the other is a non human creature? I actually think this is a common experience, though maybe one we don't give enough thought or attention to. And I think noticing and practicing these kinds of encounters has a lot to teach us about deep connection. So, I'll share a couple examples of my own. So often after I've done breath work or meditation, my dog will come up to me. Maybe it's just for attention, right? But it's definitely interesting that he seems to notice I'm in a different state. Like he usually doesn't come up and try to play with me, like bring a toy like he usually would if he notices that I'm not busy with something else or he thinks that I'm so distracted with something else that I'll just throw it absentmindedly. So usually it's more like he'll come up and just sort of nose at my hand and want that kind of attention or that kind of interaction. And he seems to notice that it's that kind of a present state more than like if I were just sitting there. He doesn't do it, let's say, if I'm just quietly looking at my phone or something like that on the couch, he wouldn't do it. So, another experience I had that was really interesting some years back was when I was on a walk, kind of walking up a hill a little, and there was a man and his dog in their driveway on the other side of the street. I was just in a really present state, and I'd somehow like just was aware of my surroundings, including them. And in my head, I felt like I was sort of talking to the dog, like I was like almost like throwing my thoughts backwards and across the street to the dog. For whatever reason, I just was in the flow of the moment, and I did that. And the dog came trotting across the street up to me. So I thought that was really interesting, partly just because it seemed to have more to do with my presence in some way, especially in that case, because since I was just walking forward up the hill, I wasn't giving like an outward sign that I was, you know, making eye contact with the dog or something like that. So that was kind of an interesting one that I had. And then, there's been a lot of different kinds of animal encounters I've had out in the wild, even a bobcat crossing my path one time. But I think the kind I'm talking about here is sort of that presence experience with them. So sometimes it's more of a sighting, but it could be more of a presence kind of interaction with an animal. And I've had that maybe more so with like a bird, coming up to me and not necessarily, not a bird, not the kind of bird where they might want crumbs or something from you. Like maybe it's a bird of prey that wouldn't be interested in that. Um, Maybe just hopping a little closer to me if I'm in that kind of a state of presence with them. So, what I think these kinds of things have to teach us is partly the noticing. So, I think it's interesting to notice how attuned creatures are when they're present like this. They often are more in a state of presence more of the time than we humans are. And it's also a wonderful way, I think, to practice with these creatures who maybe are more present in their bodies more of the time. So I would say we can take two things from it: noticing the way that other non-human creatures are present, and just noticing how that is that they're so present and attuned to what's around them, and also perhaps more consciously practicing presence with these other non-human creatures. So I'd love to know in the comments what kinds of animal encounters you've had, whether it's with your pets or out in nature, in the wild. It'd be really interesting to hear if you've had these kinds of moments where you feel attuned to each other, the human and the non-human creature.